Let's go live. Let's get it. Let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? I need to know. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Am I check? All right. What's up? What's up? So we already know it's not race week, but we going live because we got a lot of shit to talk about before we get into race week. What's going on, Daniel? What's going on, Trey? Everybody. So I'm aware we might not have the pouring of collaboration that we typically have on a race weekend because we know how we get on race week. We get crunk, we get lit, we pop bottles. And as you see, I got the next bottle that we're going to be popping for the next Mercedes podium. And you already see it's that Ace. All right, so I'm going to be popping that Ace. We got France on the 22nd through the 24th. So right now we're going to get into some of these topics and situations that have been going on. Also, stick around because somebody else won or has accumulated enough points for their VIP box. So I will be awarding them their VIP box today on this. So stick around for that because when you actually accumulate enough points for your VIP box, I'm going to ask that those people also stick around to celebrate you. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Here is the new bottle right here. Check that out. Look at that. I'm going to pop that thing open for you. Bow. That's what we got. Members get to vote on the bottles. The members picked this. And so I literally landed off a flight, went and picked it up. And I can't wait to pop this one so I can let you all know what this one tastes like. But this is what they voted on. This is what the members of the channel selected. If you want to be able to weigh in on things like that, as well as the custom emojis and other situations that are going to happen and benefits for the members, you could click that link in the description. It'll take you there so you can join the channel. It's not much at all. Like, it's less than $5. Hey, Big Hurt. Big Hurt, you know it. I got it right there, bro. Hey, that's what they picked. That's what y'all picked. I got it. Sealed the deal with it, bro. Definitely make sure you stick around. What's up, Richard? So let's get into this because what we're going to talk about is let's find a way for us to have some understanding on the cornering and who has the rights to the corner. What car is supposed to back out? The defender, the attacker? Because right now it does not seem like the FIA is doing a very good job this season already with getting rid of these gray areas and being more consistent with these calls. And I think the last situation that took place with Albon is a situation that definitely sparked it to say, hey, you all penalize this man for something that you did not penalize others for in the previous race, Silverstone. And Silverstone already has like seeds of spite growing there for many people for many different reasons, especially the Lewis and Max situation. And we're going to even view that. But the first thing we're going to do is let's set some criteria that we can go based off of and say to ourselves, that is a racing incident, or that's the attacker's fault, or that's the defender's fault. Either way it goes, we're going to go over some guides. So I got some images right here we're going to go into. And then after we go through these images, we're actually going to look at some situations that took place this season and last and make the determination then. Now, keep in mind this. Even if you thought otherwise prior to seeing this guide, there's nothing wrong with changing your decision based off seeing some more information or new evidence. That's how we grow here. I want us to grow as a community, to help educate each other as a community about Formula One so we could be more informative and more accurate when we talk about it. So the first example I have here is example A, is guideline A. And it says, oh, by the way, I got the purple collection on. All right, let me show y'all that. This is the purple collection that comes in the tier 2 VIP. So this is the VIP box. This is tier 1. Tier 2 is a whole different situation. This comes in tier 2, the purple VIP collection and the purple hat. And also I purchased real titanium to have new custom coins made, and those custom coins made will come in a suspended case like this for you to put on display at your office or your home or wherever you want to display and say you're part of the Wolfpack fam. Back to this. Just wanted to let y'all know that in case people want to know what's up with the purple. Okay, so it says A, attacker more than halfway alongside. In this case, the attacker is definitely more than halfway past the defender at the apex. The attacker has the right to the racing line. A collision at the apex is entirely the fault of the defender. Okay, so with this being said, I also did some karting over the weekend to put myself in a real world type of situation. Of course, very far from Formula One, but dynamics, because Formula One drivers typically start in karting and go up. So the dynamics are the processes are the same as far as entering and exiting corners. I'm going to tell you this. For you to try and make the decision at the apex is so difficult. It's already done. Okay. I believe, like this saying, the decision needs to be made prior to and entering the apex. Okay. So somewhere when the car, you see the first diagrams of the car starting, and as you can see, even right there, the defender is slightly ahead by the front wing, right? But still the guide says that in this situation, the attacker has the right to the corner, and therefore this is at the fault of the defender. Okay, so we got this right now, right? We got this guide A. Guideline A tells us the attacker is in the green and the defender is correct at this point in time, okay? That's what we got. So now we're going to go to the next one. And what we're going to do here is we're not going to do, like, this is going to, like, get rid of some of all this debate and bullshit. Let's not be biased. Let's just look at the process that's happening and then apply it to other processes that we see. It's not to say that we still might not have some gray areas and like tough, but if you really truly try to stick it to what we see and the guidelines that we're going to go based off of, although personally you might not want to say that driver or this team should have had the right, let's just be fair. Okay, so let's go to B, because that's A. So B is attacker more than halfway. So halfway or more. In this situation, the defender is wrong for not giving. Now, what situation does this already look like? There are two situations in one race where I can tell you this already looks like. And if this is the case, then we already know which drivers were wrong and which drivers shouldn't have been penalized if we're going based off the guide, okay? So let's go to B. We go to B. B, attacker less than halfway alongside, okay? So halfway or less, all right, we're talking about this. So it says in this case, the attacker has only their front wing alongside the defender's rear wheel. The defender has the right to the racing line. A collision here is at the fault of the attacker. So just like we're saying, right here coming at that apex, and you can see how much further ahead the attacker is, then they're saying that the attacker, the defender is, my apologies, the defender is, they're saying the attacker is wrong. Okay, so if this is the case, you have to decide who is the defender and who is the attacker going in or approaching the apex. Even if you're coming and approaching the apex, and at that point in time, a car is ahead, that car has now become the defender. Now the car that just slightly leads or leads, period, is the attacker. So then we're looking for that as well as going into the apex or at the apex. Because like I said, I did some karting. It is very difficult to try to apply the thought process once in the apex about who's going to give and who's not. We have to really, as drivers, decide approaching that apex. Okay, hey, they're just a bit more in front of me. There's no way going into this apex I'm going to make it or beat them unless I either come down on them and force them to back out, or inevitably they come into me and it is what it is. Okay, so then we have to try to look a little bit further to try to make a determination. And this is where you can kind of see how things could get difficult, but still, if we try to stick to some of the criteria, we should be able to make, oh shit, Sylvia, oh, I see you leveled up. Hey, everybody take note. Sylvia Kelly has leveled up. And if you pay attention and you notice her icon, like Big Hurt, look at Big Hurt's badge icon. Look at Sylvia's icon. Congratulations, Sylvia just leveled up. That means she has been a member of the channel for longer than a month, and it automatically upgraded her to the Patronus Blue, as I call it, or the blue period. But I like that color blue because it goes along with some of the other things I got. But congratulations, Sylvia, for leveling up. Let me get back to this. So now we have attacker less than halfway alongside. Okay, so let's go to Charlie. We're going to go to C. So right here, we're going to go to C, and it says attacker approximately halfway alongside. Approximately. That means a little bit of, a little bit behind, approximate in that area, in that region is where we're operating. But more so, we're concerned with the back half of the car to the rear axle, okay? So in this situation, it says, in this case, The attacker's front axle is ahead of the defender's rear axle, and the two cars are approximately halfway alongside. Both drivers have a reasonable claim to the apex. Now think about that, a reasonable claim to the apex, which pretty much establishes that the claim should be determined approaching the apex to determine who has the right to the apex and the racing line. All right. So like I said, I went karting. To try to make these decisions at the apex is way too late. These decisions need to be decided by the drivers in the midst approaching to decide not only who has the pace, how far alongside of me are they, and then you know what? I gotta let it go. I gotta let them have it, try to catch them on the straight. So then it says, if contact occurs, blame will be shared amongst the attacker and the defender. Hence, in bold, racing incidents. Okay? There's nothing wrong with saying nobody's at blame. It's a racing incident. So many people get caught up with trying to find somebody to blame instead of saying, hey, you know what? I can see that shit. It's a racing incident. But now we have these guidelines, right? So now that we have these guides, now knowing some criteria, can we all now look at some examples and try to make the decision based on who was wrong and who was right? Okay, so what I am going to do is I'm going to end this poll in the chat. And what I will do is I'm going to put a poll up first, right? I'm going to put a poll up. Don't vote on. I'm not going to put it up yet. I'm going to wait, because if I put it up right now, people are just going to start voting. So I'm going to show the video. We're going to remember the criteria that we just went over, and then we're going to vote and say who was wrong, that driver or this driver. Okay, so let's begin this. Let's get into it. Let's have a good time with this interactive experience. Okay, so here we go. First example. All right, first example, here it is right here. Okay, we'll back it up. As we see, this is pretty much textbook to what we saw in the first example A. Approaching the apex, is Albon halfway or more alongside Lando? Yes or no? Okay, so now this is where I'm going to put it in the chat. I'm going to put a poll up there, and we're going to keep going through. We're going to go through the progression to show the entrance and the exit and see if we can make a decision. So I'm going to put it up there, who's at fault, and then we'll vote on it and see. So we're going to say Albon and all right, here's the poll. So here we go. All right, so let's go a little bit further into this. And we'll see, boom, right there, they're at the apex, okay? They're just at the apex. Is Albon still more than halfway alongside Lando? Also in this situation, it's pretty much textbook because Albon is the attacker, being that he's slightly trailing behind Lando, just smidge of his rear wing, of his front wing, my apologies. But at the apex, is Albon more or halfway alongside Lando? Yes, he is. We can clearly see this. So why is it that coming out of here, people thought that Albon, or the stewards issued Albon a penalty? Even if we replay this, are you telling me that because this looked crazy, was it because that this looked so crazy that they penalized Albon? Because even if so, that's not correct to do. Because we just looked at three guys, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. And if we go back, what did Charlie say? Charlie says attacker more than halfway alongside. And if you look at the diagram, it's pretty much identical to Lando and what Albon went through. Albon would be the attacker. Lando is the defender. Albon was shit ton way more halfway alongside Lando. So why is it that Albon got penalized? He should not have been penalized for that, in my opinion. Okay, in my opinion. So now that I've given you my opinion based off the guys that we have seen, let me know. Thank you. Salute to you all too. Let me know, who do you think was at fault? Even though the steward said Albon, I believe Lando was at fault, because going based off the criteria that we just went through, Albon was more than halfway alongside Lando going into the apex and at the apex. So let's see what y'all say. 61% of y'all say Lando. 39% of you all still say Albon. And I am really, I'm really trying to find out why still 30% would say Albon based off the criteria, and this is almost identical. Look, it is almost. I'm going to take this video back and flip back and forth between the example. I want you to look at this example. Look at this example, and look at that. Is this not pretty much damn near exact? And it tells you that Lando being the defender on the outside, Albon being the red car on the inside, it says right there, the defender is to blame. Lando is to blame. So why 30% of you all would still say Lando is because you have an opinion and you're entitled to your opinion. I will give you that. I'll give you that. So we'll end that poll right there. 61% say it's Lando's fault. So if we were all stewards, Lando would have received a penalty and not Albon. And these are how things work. These are how things work probably in that room, right? So you can see how some would still disagree with that. But the thing is, by the letter of our guide that we're going through, because on this channel and community, I want us to try to establish some consistency as well as a community, although we're still going to have different opinions. But if we can establish a little bit more like consistency amongst each other, we can kind of rid ourselves of needless debate. So let's go into our next example, okay? And let's try to apply these guys. So the next example, we're going to talk about Mick and Max in Silverstone, all right? So here we go. Boom. So we're going into this. Now let's rewind this back. There is the apex just to your left, just in front of Max, right? At this point in time, even though Max is on the inside, I believe still he was leading coming into this corner. So that still makes him the defender. Mick would be the attacker. If we go a little further down into this, go a little further ahead, we'll see that even coming out of this apex, Max is still ahead of Mick. Mick is just, he's a little more than halfway up on Max, but he's not ahead going in and or coming out. So we did see here that, right, we saw here that less than halfway, that's what we got. So then we got approximately halfway alongside is about what we could call this situation, approximately about halfway alongside, because that's what Mick is in regards or in reference to Max. So if the situation took place where these two collided and pretty much Max here was on his racing line, but he pushed Mick out, we could say that Max, based off the guideline, both of them had reasonable claim to the apex. They both had reasonable claim to the apex if we're going based off of approximately halfway alongside. It says that reasonable claim to the apex. But still, I would say with Max having the pace, being in front, going in, being in front and still being in front coming out, that Max to me would have more claim to that apex than Mick would. And I would think here, because we went through the guys, like at first I was like, did he run Mick off? Yeah, he pushed him out. He did. But we're talking about rights to the apex. And if a collision occurred based off that, who should be at fault? This would be a racing incident, but I still would say Mick probably should have backed out some to clear the air, right? Max feeling like he doesn't have to back out because he feels like he owns the apex. But in regards to the guide, they both have reasonable claim. And I guess technically we'd have to go back and see how it was going in as well. But based off what we have here, I'm going to say it would be a racing incident if they collided, but I would lean more toward Max having right on that corner. So let me see what you all would say. I'm going to put a poll in the chat. You let me know what you would say. All right, let me see. Boo, boo, boo. Matter of fact, I might go ahead. Actually, I'm going to say, let's go. Boop. I'm going to put it in the chat. Y'all vote on it. Let me know what you think. All right, here it is. Polls in the chat. Don't dance on it. Just vote on it. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Yes, hit that like button. Y'all stop being cheap. It's free. Just hit the like button. All right, so let's see what y'all say. Who has the apex? You going to say it's Max, or you going to say it's Mick based off the criteria that we just went by? Don't be biased. We're just trying to find 100% said Max has the apex. I would agree that Max probably has the apex. But I also would say that if an incident happened based off the guide that we just saw, because Mick is halfway alongside Max, so there's a reasonable amount of claim for Mick to have the racing line and the apex as well, that if they did have an incident, and this is how I felt even when watching Silverstone, it would have been a racing incident. I still feel that even if it is this way, that you have reasonable claim to the apex, that Max could have did better giving Mick space and not running him off the track. Because therefore, if they both have reasonable claim to the apex, which the guide says they do, because Mick is halfway alongside Max, that Max also needs to give Mick the space to stay on track and not run him off the track. All right, so that's how I feel about the entirety. Okay, if I had to make a decision based if an incident happened, but an incident didn't happen here, Mick got ran off track. But the same thing would apply, right? Because we have to think about this. Where's the consistency between the Albon and the Lando situation? Albon clearly had rights to the racing line, although we can say Lando was a bit more than halfway also alongside Albon, so it's reasonable. Nobody had an incident, so therefore nobody had a collision. So there still was no reason to give Albon the penalty. And Albon pushed so-called Lando off track. So Albon got a penalty for that. Why is it that Max didn't get a penalty for the same exact actions that Albon got a penalty for? Max pretty much just did what Albon did, the actions of going in. We're not talking about his mental intent. We're talking about the driving. There's Albon, this same thing, push, and he's off the track. So this is just how I feel. If Max did not get penalized, I don't think Albon should have been penalized. I'm cool with both of them not being penalized. And if an incident didn't happen, it being a racing incident. That is how I feel. So let's say some of you all are split. You say 59% say Max has the apex. Okay, I would agree with that. Now, if they had an incident, I would still be okay with it being a racing incident, because by the guide, it says, what does it say here? It says, nah, that's less. We're going Charlie. It says approximately halfway alongside. They both have reasonable claim. It would be a racing incident. They both have to share the blame. That's what it's saying. Nobody's going to be totally absolved of any blame. You're both going to share the blame. And I think that's accurate to say, given an incident happened, if we go by Charlie, okay? So let's go to our next example, which is still Max and Mick at Silverstone. A little bit different look. I think this was also coming out of that corner, getting ready to go into the straight. So right here, now here we can clearly see the apex is ahead on the right. It's on Mick's side this time. Mick in this situation has fallen back some. Why? Because he gave a little bit to come back on track, was ran off track by Max, gave a little bit. So, of course, he doesn't have the same pace going into this next corner or approaching this next apex. So that would probably put him, if we play a little bit more, we're still not at the apex. We're still not at the apex yet. We get there, boom. We're at the apex. Max is clearly ahead. Mick's front axle is clearly behind Max's rear axle. Max has full rights to this apex at this point in time. Look how much space is between him and Mick at the apex. Now, keep this in mind when we see other videos, because there's not going to be this much space between two other drivers when it comes to being at this apex, let alone coming down the straight to approach the apex. So we don't need to vote on this one. Clearly, Max has the apex at this one. He clearly has the apex. All right, let me see what y'all said. 59% said Max has the apex. I would agree with that. All right, I would agree with that. Somebody got their ass right up out of here, probably for good reason. I'm gonna tell you right now. By now, our team has had a meeting, and we've met several times about what's going to be allowed and what's not going to be allowed in the chat. Keep in mind, none of these live chats have to be open to the public. I can just restrict them all to members, but I don't do that because I like all Wolfpack fam are not members of the channel, and I love y'all being here. But if you're doing dumb shit in the chat, They're going to get rid of you. They're going to piece you out. They're going to let you have fun. You can even say, fuck Lewis Hamilton. You want to say that? That's cool. You get into racial shit. You get into attacking somebody in the chat. They're going to handle you. If somebody puts a hit out on you, you're going to get handled. So just keep that in mind, okay? All right, so the next one we're about to go into. Let's go to our next example and apply these guys and see. We got other topics we're going to get into, trust, all right? But we're going to spend some time on this one. Let's go into Perez versus Hamilton Silverstone, I believe this is, all right? So right here, boom, stopped it perfect. They are technically coming out of a corner. Right here, we're going to see Perez pushes Hamilton off track. And then we're going back into this next corner, okay? I personally felt that right there, you could see coming out of that corner, Hamilton's front axle is just about at Perez's rear axle. And what does the criteria say about that? All right. I think that's less than halfway, right? That's less than halfway. And it says attacker less than halfway alongside, the attacker will be at fault given a collision happens. So since that is the case in the criteria, if a collision does happen there, we would have to say that Hamilton is at fault. Does Perez push a bit far going out of this corner? And right there, you see that we're a little bit more alongside each other. But at that point in time, it's a little bit late for Perez to kind of react to that as fast as they moving. Going in, he clearly had it. Yeah, you want to try to say he could have left space because you see the Ferrari right there is nowhere near as deep as Perez is. So yeah, Perez probably was pushing Hamilton off track. But if that is still the case, right? If we're going based off how the stewards judge shit, why did Perez not get a penalty for the same thing that Albon did in the Austria Grand Prix? That's our question. None of these cars collided and wrecked each other. Here we clearly see the same exact thing that happened between Albon and Lando, yet Albon gets the penalty, but Perez does not. This is what we're talking about as far as meeting consistency. If you're not going to penalize them, cool. But we don't want to see drivers do the same thing in one race, and then another driver does the same thing the previous driver did in the previous race, and now that driver is getting a penalty for it. That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. And this is where the FIA and the stewards are going wrong. This is not about attacking another team. This is about looking at the line, looking at two cars driving around the track, and somebody so dumb boldly try to get in my comment section and try to say, to take the name and the teams off the cars. What do you think? That's what I do, and that's what I'm doing here with you. Perez, Max did the same thing Albon did, but they didn't get a penalty for it. That's not correct. If you're going to give Albon a penalty, you have to give Max and Perez a penalty, or any other driver a penalty for doing the same thing. I don't care if it's Hamilton. I don't care if it's Daniel. I don't care if it's Seb. I don't care if it's Mick. I don't care if it's Kevin. I don't care if it's Charles. I don't care if it's any of them, period. I don't care if it's Carlo. I don't care who it is. We're trying to get consistency. Well, hey, I'm talking about that purple collection. It's on hit. That's what's coming in the tier 2 VIP bag. All right. So don't forget, stick around because we got somebody we're going to award. What's up, Mimi? I see you, a member right there. I see you. Don't forget, we're going to award somebody their VIP box today. We do have another member that's in the Wolfpack family YouTube. They're not an official. No, actually, they are an official member of the Wolfpack channel. They did earn their VIP box, so I'm going to award them in a little bit. We'll do that halfway through. So let's go through this next example. All right, so that's Perez and Hamilton. Let's go through the next one. So the next one we have here is going to be Hamilton versus Max. All right, this is a famous one. Let's look at this. Now, who is ahead going into the apex? It's Hamilton. The question is, from this view, it's a bit hard to see where Max's front axle is in regards to Hamilton's rear axle, but I believe coming down this straight, by the time they got here, Max's front axle was just at Lewis's rear axle, which would say that Max is less than halfway up on Lewis, okay? Which means going into the apex, Max should have fallen back and let Lewis have it. So let's go a little bit further. Now, right here, can you clearly see? We can clearly see, right? So let's go back to our guide. Let's go back to our guide and take a look. Less than halfway. It says front wing alongside the defender's rear wheel. Hamilton is the defender. Max is the attacker. Max's rear wing is less than halfway up on Hamilton's car. All right, it is less than halfway up on Hamilton's car. Here we go. Boom. Now right here, as they turn it in, boom, it's halfway. So now Max is halfway. But still, we're talking about they're already at this first apex. Max should have fallen back, but he didn't. He pushed the issue. Here he is again, still pushing the issue when right at this point they're out of that apex, right? Technically, Max should be behind Lewis because he's given and yielding to Lewis to have the apex because clearly he was further ahead of Max going in. Right here, Max still doesn't want to give. He's about to hit the curb. Still doesn't want to give, hits the sausage curb. Now he doesn't have control of the car. The car bounces over, lands on top of Lewis. All right? So, given that, I got to ask you, who is at fault? Y'all can vote on it. Let's see what y'all say. Because we already know that was a very popular incident. All right, so here it is. Poll in the chat. Don't dance on it. Just vote on it. Interaction time. Who is ahead? Who is at fault for that? Based off our criteria. We saw our criteria, right? The criteria clearly said, oh, hold on, wait a minute. The criteria clearly said, damn, hold on, let me do that down. Let me do that conversion to see what you working with, Mimi. Let me see what you working with out there. While y'all vote on that. Big Hurt, big shout out to Big Hurt for the super chat. It seems like the FIA told Red Bull Racing, you have carte blanche on the track. We got you. Damn, big shout out Big Hurt. Hey, could one of my moms get Big Hurt his props? Please stick around. Mimi, let me see what you working with. Let's see what you working with, because I don't know that right offhand. So we're going to go boom. All right, let me see what Mimi working with. Oh, Mimi, are you tripping? You talking about 86 degrees out there? It was like 102 degrees out here. Y'all better stop playing with me. All right, so what do y'all say? Okay, 98% say that Max's fault. I agree. That's Max's fault. Let's go to our next example. All right, our next example is still going to be Hamilton and Max, Sir Lewis, excuse me for somebody corrects me, Sir Lewis and Max at Silverstone. Very popular, very famous, we know. So here we go. Let's get this. All right, so right here, let's just take note that coming down the straight, at this point in time, Max is the defender while Lewis is the attacker. And it is true. Lewis had space, and Max said he gave him space. Lewis had pace. Lewis takes that space, and what does he do? Boom, right here. Now look. You can already tell that these cars are starting to make a turn. So that means they are approaching the apex. Hamilton being the attacker, Max being the defender. Is Hamilton's car approximately or more than halfway alongside Max? Visually, yeah, it is. They're almost wheel to wheel. Hamilton's front axle is about at Max's front wheel, front tire, however you want to put it. He's there. Okay, he is there. So this is again pretty much textbook to what Alpha, Bravo, or Charlie? To Alpha. Pretty much textbook. This is the Silverstone corner that you basically looking at. Max being the defender is ironic that it's a blue car. Hamilton being the red, he's not Russell, but you know, we got Hamilton as the attacker. And it says in this case, the attacker is definitely more than halfway past the defender at the apex, which we know they're approaching the apex because they're starting to make that turn. The attacker has the right to the racing line. A collision at the apex is entirely the fault of the defender. We're going based off that criteria, just off that criteria. So if we go based off that criteria, and let me end this poll in the chat, I already did. So let me go back to this. If we going based off this criteria, here we are. Now, you just saw a hint of the apex right there. All right. Right here, Max should have been backed out. At the apex, he pushes it. Okay. Now he's coming down. He turns down. Now, I also want to note, see how much room is over there to the left? there was enough room for Max to keep pace and possibly stay up with Hamilton going in and out of this corner and challenge him down the straight if he was, all right? But we see right here, he didn't. He spins off, and that's what, even if you look at this picture, there's still space Hamilton has right there that Max could have occupied going into this. So if we go back right here, he's coming down, slipstreams him, got boom, more than halfway alongside. They're getting ready. They're approaching the apex. At the apex, Hamilton's still halfway alongside. Now, even if, let's go to this. Let's say this. Let's say they're at this apex, right? Because they're right there on it. Hamilton is at least approximately halfway alongside Max at this point, whereas before he was completely pretty much more than halfway alongside Max. So if we look at the guideline for approximately, it says attacker approximately halfway, which would be Lewis. In this case, it would be a racing incident. So technically, by the guide, a racing incident, they both share the blame. There was no reason to give Hamilton the 10-second penalty for the collision, because by the guide, they both should share that blame of that corner, and it's a push. It's a push. So let me see what you all say. Let me see what y'all say in the chat. We're going to put it up in there. Here it goes in the chat. And let me get this correct before somebody correct me. All right, poll in the chat. Don't dance on it, just vote on it. Tell me what you think. Who has the apex? Or who, actually, it's not even who has the apex. Actually, it's who's at fault for the incident. And honestly, Lewis has the apex because Max should have backed out. But even if they didn't, it's a racing incident by the guideline, all right? So that's what that is. So we see that, and we're really not going to get into a lot of, well, actually we can because it's relevant. We did see several drivers negotiating and working their way through here, drivers off track in this past Silverstone event. So it still does go to show that driving can happen in and out of those corners without incidents happening. There was plenty of space there, right? So let's do this. Let's go to our next example, right? Let's go to our next example because we're about to be on the next topic coming up. Our next example. All right. We have coming up. We have, we got the animation because it shows a bit more, but we don't need to look at the animation. Let's go ahead and go into, we could take a look at the animation real quick. So if we look at the animation, because it's a very popular one, we see right here, come up, because it gives us a top view, a very good top view. We see right here, Hamilton is definitely more than halfway alongside Max. His front axle is just about, just behind, a shy behind Max's front axle right here. And this will give us a better shot. Boom. They're going into they're right there at apex. Halfway. Now we already saw that Hamilton was more than halfway going in. Now he's approximately halfway. This would have been a racing incident. All right. It would have been a race. It should have been a racing incident. Instead, they penalized Hamilton, which if we go by the guideline was incorrect. We're not being biased here. We're just looking at the images and applying the look of those images to our guides. And what do our guides say? If Hamilton is more than halfway, which he was at a point, he has the apex. Going right there into the apex, he was still approximately halfway. It's right there. It's a racing incident. There should have been no penalty, okay? So that's what we got on that. Hopefully that can help us at least have better conversation and an understanding of who's going to be to blame when we come into encounter these situations with the drivers. All right. And by the way, since I got more y'all in here, here's the new bottle for the Mercedes podium. I told y'all I got it. Members of the channel vote on the bottles. If you're a member of the channel and you can see those, J Starship, Sylvia, Big Hurt, those badge icons, and they also have custom emojis, they vote and select the bottles I buy. All right. I literally was out of town taking care of some things with my grandmother. And I got off the flight and I immediately went and got this so I would have it for you all. So there's the new bottle. That's what's happening. So since we are halfway, I'm going to do this. Let's get prepared to celebrate and congratulate the most recent VIP member of the Wolfpack family, Big Hertification. Congratulations. You accumulated your points for your VIP box tier 1. I am wearing part of the tier 2 program. Big Hurt, congratulations. Get with me on a DM on social media somewhere so I can get your box shipped out to you with your goodies. Big Hurt will not only get this box, but he also will receive the custom Wolfpack gold coin that will also come in his box, along with his hat, his shirt, and several other pieces of merch. Big congratulations. I also want to tell him thank you for being a member of the channel. As many of y'all, Massacre, I see you. I see you. But here we go. Massacre, big shout out for the super chat. Y'all congratulate Big Hurt, and I will give Massacre his props for the super chat. Big Hurt, congratulations. Let me dab on him for Massacre and then put the money emoji on there. I really appreciate it. But yes, Big Hurt, you are the latest. You are the newest VIP member. You will join a select few from now on when I post the super chat props. You can notice the people that are VIP and who have also received their VIP boxes because they have the VIP logo next to their name along with the cash emoji or the bag emoji. So Big Hurt, congratulations. I really appreciate you. Get with me. Like I said, I will send that box out to you as I did. Nal was our last recipient of the VIP box. She already got hers, so big shout out to her as well. Let's get back into these topics, all right? Because we got plenty of stuff to get into. Big shout out to Big Hurt. Big shout out, let me dag for Massacre. Massacre, big shout out to you. Big supporter of the channel. Much appreciation, brother. Much appreciation. So let's get to this next topic. All right, because our next topic is going to be something a bit unsettling, big different. We can go ahead and cut that off. We're pretty much done with that. Let's get into this. Okay, at the Australian Grand Prix, we had a bunch of shit happening, right? We had a bunch of shit take place that wasn't just race related. It was race related, okay? As to people having racial slurs, homophobic attacks, even sexual assault upon women. And a lot of you definitely empathize with that. And there was even a viewer who was there at the Australian Grand Prix, and she wrote about her experience in the chat, talking about things that had happened to her. And if she didn't have another male with her, some of the things that probably would have continued to happen, but didn't because she had males with her. And that's just something that we shouldn't be happening, right? So let's take a look at this, because there are people that want to discredit the real harassment or people that have definitely had wrong done against them based off a couple of other individuals' actions. So it was reported that there were two or a couple individuals that were basically, how should I say it, taunting or out fishing, trying to prompt or push people to react in a certain way. But I will say this, if you don't have a problem with it, then there should be no problem. And so what I mean when I say that is, and I'm not taking away what I will further say about people that cry wolf, but I'm still going to say this, no pun intended, right? I'm still going to say this. If you don't have a problem with people's selection of how they live their life, there should be no problem. No matter if they were taunting you. So if they're not physically touching you, they want to put their hands up and they're trying to prompt a reaction. If the reaction is not in you, you will not lash out amongst that. It still doesn't make it right for you to do. It's just like when I say if a woman wears the shortest skirt she can wear, or a man wears the tightest pants they can wear, it still does not give you the right to touch that person inappropriately because you feel like they've put themselves out there. That is an indictment upon your character and your integrity and you as a person, because you felt that you should be able to do something to somebody because you felt they looked a certain way. That's not correct. So I'm still saying also this, it is distasteful when people set out to set traps and then claim things that did not really happen to them because it diminishes and it shades real victims. When people are really victimized, then other people who don't want to really believe these victims like to go back to things like this situation to say, this is why we really can't believe you. because other people, said things similar to you and really nothing happened. We can't do that, right? But I also want to point out this. A lot of people got in my comment section and were so quick to try to attribute this being Mercedes people that were doing this. As we clearly see, they're not wearing Mercedes colors. And this is what I mean by trying to go too far to throw shade and hate. Y'all want to talk about hate? Let me tell you this. Hate doesn't work downward. I'm not going to be successful or hate on somebody below me. It doesn't work that way. All right. So we're not hating, but this is something that should not take place. This is something that definitely shouldn't be. They should definitely dial back on doing things like this, because there will be real people out there that are victims and that were actually victims there at the race not you all, but people want to discredit. And we're going to get into that right now. So I'm saying I don't agree with what they did. Don't cry wolf if it's not really real, because people are really being victimized out here, and they have every right for us to have our backing, for them to have our backing on what has happened to them, to sort out these attackers. But let's wait a minute, because a lot of haters, real haters, and a lot of despicable people got in my comment section trying to discredit real victims. So I'm going to read to you, because y'all want to get you people who do this. And I'm talking about you people that do this, that get in my comment section with the racial slurs. They get in my comment section with the homophobic ass comments. They get in my comment section talking shit about black people, or talking shit about boy, or talking shit about, oh, they not this and they not that. This is particularly for you, because you want to try to disassociate the fans from Max and Red Bull and the Orange Army, saying that it was just people that lived there. Well, I have quotes and pieces from legitimate sources that you probably go to get your F1 fix, but you don't talk shit to them. You come here and talk shit to me. Why do you do that? I can probably gather. I'm not going to worry about putting it out there. We're just going to get into the information. So one report, all legitimate pieces I got from legitimate people that you go to their website, their YouTube channels, their Twitter pages, and you just love them. But they put this shit out. Drunk fans were reportedly catcalling, singing despicable songs, and even threatening women in the crowd. Some women were physically harassed. That shit happened. But because two people, or two idiots, or two other idiots want to go out here and cry wolf, you want to try to discredit real victims. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you do that. The next example, one woman said her dress was pulled up by drunk Verstappen fans. You want to try to disassociate these people from Max fans, but you can't do that. It says right here, drunk Verstappen fans, because accordingly to the Max fans, this woman was a Lewis Hamilton fan and therefore did not deserve respect. So where in the fuck in human society are we saying that people don't deserve human respect of their personal space, their personal body, because they support a team or a driver? Well, evidently, Max Verstappen fans feel this way, because that's what was in the report. And this is not part of that. This is not part of the shenanigans that you want to try to discredit somebody because they went and cried wolf. This is part of real shit that took place. The next one, Elizabeth, who regularly covers F1, spoke about the abuse women receive at the Red Bull Ring, so much so that she said she was afraid to go to the damn bathroom. Messica got a super chat. Let me read this. Messica, I got you. Let me see. Messica says, why are they all Max fans? I don't understand. Why not Lando or Charles? Which we are also going to get into that later in this same live event. None of the racist, sexist are fans of other drivers. Not all Max fans are terrible. That is very true. But all terrible fans are Max fans. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. There are more than a few people, when they get in my chat, big shout out to Messica for that super chat. They speak some really solid facts. Messica is one of those people. All right. Next, the next example. It says reported. Now, this is from legitimate other sources that you probably gawk at and applaud. But you come here when I report on the same issues and say I'm full of shit and I'm just pulling race cards, or I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, I get you. So right here it says, most of the abuse was reportedly coming from the crowd of Verstappen fans. So here we are again, being reported from the Austrian GP, the Red Bull Ring, in the literal cloud of orange smoke, who traveled from the Netherlands to support their hometown hero. So there were a lot of people in my chat when I did the first video talking about the woman that was victimized as far as raising her skirt up. And those people said to me, they are not Max fans. They are locals of the track. I'm going to say two things. This report says hometown heroes supported by people traveling from the Netherlands were those responsible for doing some of these acts. Also, I don't give a shit if they lived there. They were there in Orange Army shirts still supporting Max. You cannot dissociate the actions from the person because you want to try to clean up the fact that it's a Max fan. I'm not sitting up here saying that it's Max's fault. To a degree, I'm not saying that Max purposely went out and employed people to do these things. That's not what I'm saying. So don't say that, because I didn't say that. I didn't say that it was Max's fault. But I will say this. Birds of a feather flock together. And although one bird may not do the same actions as another bird, they still believe that some actions might be okay. But wait a minute. I got something, because I don't want you to call me. I don't want you to say I don't have take integrity. It says also, their behavior wasn't only directed towards the audience members, saying that it's not just fans that suffered some of these harassments and or attacks. It seems as seemingly hundreds of Red Bull fans cheered rival Lewis Hamilton's crash during qualifying. This is reported from other valid sources that have over hundreds of thousands of viewers, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, which Wolfpack is going to get there. Believe that. They are reporting this, but you don't give them that shit. So let's also get to this. Max gives a quote, and I'm going to read it. Things that shouldn't happen, Verstappen said after Sunday's GP. I read a few shocking things that are clearly not okay, Max says. Max is saying he's saying he clearly did not agree with what happened. They're not okay. I should not even need to say this. It should be a general understanding that these things shouldn't happen. Although, and this is from the report and the valid source, so I'm not the only person saying this. There's somebody else that doesn't look like me, that's not the same shade as me, also reporting this. So don't shoot me because you don't like that I'm black, and or maybe I speak the way I speak, or I don't really talk about Formula One the way you want me to talk about it. This person does. And this is what they're saying. Although Verstappen would go on to blame the majority of the issues on alcohol, but they say alcohol isn't to blame. Well, I'm here to tell you this. There are three types of people that are going to tell your ass the truth. Mad people because they don't give a shit about your feelings. And they trying to hurt your feelings, so they probably going to let you know some truth about yourself that might be harsh. Kids because they not considering that. They just being honest and innocent. They just telling you what they see and how they feel without filters. And drunk people. Drunk people have lowered their inhibition. They've lowered that. They've lowered the guard in which to try to shield their inner self from you so you don't judge them a certain way. Drunk only makes you more of what you already are. Just like getting more money only makes you a bigger asshole if you were already an asshole. You're just going to think you have more of a privilege to treat people less like humans. Max should have never went into trying to blame alcohol for that reason, as he went in to try to say, maybe we sell less alcohol, monitor it. No, it only made them more of what they were. They were already going to do that. They probably just took it up a notch because now they drunk and they going to do it without really thinking about the consequences. That don't make them less of what they were. It just let us see more of what they are. Stop trying to make these lame ass duck excuses. Don't try to disassociate these fans from Max and Red Bull because you don't want to try to take the blame. They Max and Red Bull fans. I even saw an orange shirt that said fuck Lewis. Guess what? I ain't got nothing to say about that because I got a shirt that say crash strapping. It don't say fuck Max, but still, it's in the same ballpark. Crash strapping is not a respectful name for Max. So I don't give no blame on that, but I'm saying the dude was wearing an orange shirt that said fuck Lewis with 33 on his shirt. Evidently, I don't give a shit if he lived there or he traveled there. He's a Max fan, and he was burning a Mercedes cap, which, I mean, come on, we taking it to that level. We burning other teams' logos. I mean, that ain't assaulting somebody, but it's saying what your mentality is. I'm not sitting up here buying, you bought a Mercedes, had to burn it, or did you steal the Mercedes, had and burn it. Either way it goes, it still was ridiculous, but hey, okay, if that's what you want to do. But as the report says, that's what they're doing here. So we're going to then approach this angle of this. Do people really want to try to equate or compare Max getting booed while shooting shirts in a crowd of Silverstone fans and or his own fans, Max getting booed being racist? Are you dead serious with me right now? You need to stop the bullshit. This is where I call bullshit. You're trying so desperately to try to put Max in the same light as Lewis Hamilton as he gets racially attacked. You can't do that. You want to know why you can't do that? I'm about to show you why you can't do that. I'm about to show you why you can't do that. We're going to get this off the screen. This is why you can't do that. And I'm about to be real blunt when I say some shit. And I don't give a fuck how you take it because I'm just being honest. Let me see if I can find this. Let me see, because this is freestyling. I'm freestyling right now. Have you ever seen a company do some shit like that? Any other company besides Red Bull, have you ever seen them do something where they thought it was okay to put Barack Obama, the black president of the United States, number 44, chasing a banana along with people in blackface? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen any other team do something this fucking outlandish? Okay, if not, all right. No? Okay, so let's do this. Where's this other one? Have you ever seen a team or fans do this? Where is it? I gotta have it. It's gotta be here. It's gotta be here. I know it's gotta be here. Oh, maybe it's on this one. Maybe it might be on this one. No. Okay, I can't find it, but I'll look for it later on, and I'll see if I can find it and show you all the image that I was gonna show you. And you tell me, is that something that you have seen Max Verstappen go through as far as in his career? Have you seen him do something or seen him go through some type of ridicule as to that? Because I have not. And if you cannot say that, then you're not going to try to sit here and equate booing while Max is shooting shirts in the crowd to a racial attack. You do realize that there were white people in that crowd as well, right? You do realize that, right? I hope you realize that. I hope you do realize that and understand that you can't equate the two. We're not going to do that. I'm just being honest. This is not about being biased. It's just about being honest. All right, because we've all seen the photos of Spain people wearing blackface, okay? So then let's get into this. Let's just stop with the biasness and the disrespect for either or driver as their race, right? That's not what we want to do. I think the problem comes with character. And I think it's fair to say that Lewis Hamilton has probably the most upstanding character that we've seen in Formula One. If not one of, probably the best character that we've seen in Formula One across the grid, across world relations and issues and things that have happened. Max does not have that character. He doesn't. And we've seen it on display. And that's what most of us don't like. That's what me, myself, don't like. I don't disrespect Max's ability in a car, although he can be a bit aggressive. I'm just saying his character. So let's just do that, because I would like to also say this. How many times have you seen it reported that somebody called Max Verstappen a cracker? I'm going to wait. I'm going to say it. How many times have you seen it reported or heard somebody call Max Verstappen a cracker or a honky, which would in turn be not so much egregious as nigger, but it's still a racial derogatory term, right? If I call a white person that, which I don't even use that. I don't even use that. I only use the N-word. I don't even use the N-word. I don't use that because it don't sit comfortable with me. But how many of y'all have seen or heard people blatantly, outrageously call Max this in tweets, in Twitter, in Instagram, in any thread? And I guarantee you're probably going to say, you're probably scratching your head right now trying to come up with some shit. How many of you have seen images like the one I just showed you hurling racial slurs toward Max Verstappen? Show me one. Show me one. Show me a racial image that's been portrayed to be Max Verstappen or a person of Max's color. Show me. You're not going to find many, if any at all, in Formula One. If we're talking about Formula One. That's the difference. So you can't try to equate booing Max because he's handing out shirts and the people at Silverstone don't like him because what the team did there to Lewis Hamilton being racially attacked. You can't do it. All right. So we're going to move on to the next one because we're going to talk about a different team. And it's disappointing that we're still going through this. So let's bring this up. Once again, big shout out to Big Hurt for your VIP box, bro. We'll get that to you. We're going to talk about this. Let's show it. Let's show it. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Nickname, Brownie, that's when it started. And it went from Brownie to Darky.
This so right here is still crazy.
You can see how it slowly starts escalating just on the second shift.
How often would the N word have been used?
Hourly, within like...
Hourly. This man said he walks in the Aston Martin and he is attacked and he is told, he is forewarned that the language that they use there, if he don't like it, you know, so be it. You're going to have to get used to it. And it's used hourly. First thing I'm going to get into is this. There are a group of people that just love trying to use certain quotes or certain ploys when they want to try to discredit somebody about a racial situation. I literally had somebody on that post I put up about this situation in the community say that, oh, he ain't even black. Newsflash. My brother is way darker than me. My cousin is shit ton lighter than me. We are of African descent and black. Black people do come in a variety of spectrums of shades. If you don't know, now I'm telling you this, it's a fact. They do also have a variety and spectrum of hair type, eye color. This is a fact. Also, I get tired of people trying to say, yes, does Hamilton have a white mother and a black father? Yes, he does. Hamilton is indeed still a black man who identifies with being a black man, who has started a commission to help black people further themselves in communities and in jobs where black people of any shade are being held back because of that. Do not sit here and try to give me bullshit about Aiden not being black because he's hella light skinned, regardless of what his parents look like. If one's black, one's white, that is a fact or true. To try to say that, oh, the racial slurs toward him really don't apply because I don't see him as being black. That is some bullshit. And when people do that, it tells me that you yourself are part of the problem. I'm not going to even say so blatantly you racist. I'm going to say you're part of the problem. Because that should not be your criteria to try to discredit what happened to him. But more so of a problem is the fact that I thought that we were about a zero tolerance. Well, right here we see Aston Martin did put a statement out saying zero tolerance policy on discriminatory behavior of any kind. Of any kind. If that's the case, why is it that Aiden walks into a shop and immediately is met with an indoctrination of what you gonna go through here? We gonna call you blackie. We gonna call you darky. We gonna even call you nigger. And if you not okay with it, so be it. What the fuck? Where is that okay? Where is this okay to do? Oh, but hold on. A lot of people said he lying. He lying about this. He lying. This Aston Martin. Now, we ain't even talk about Red Bull. So let's see if the Red Bull people still keep that same energy. Or y'all gonna grow the fuck up and understand that this ain't no race card. These are real racial situations happen. Even if, let's just say, even if we find out weeks later that Aiden fabricated this whole thing, does that absolve any other racial situations that we've had occur that are factual? That is what some people try to do. You part of the problem. not the solution. That's a problem. So let's look at this. Let's look at this next statement by Red Bull. Oh my gosh. F1 racism. By the way, I'm going to get into something. I'm going to make sure I make a note right here to not forget it. It says, in this case, the complainant was rightly believed. His complaints were immediately acted upon and appropriate sanctions were imposed in line with our zero tolerance policy. We are in ongoing discussions with Aiden, with him. So Aston Martin is saying that this shit took place. We believe him to be right. They're acting up on it. Okay? So I'm saying that, one, if you have a zero tolerance policy, it seems like, and I was just asking about this, where these other teams is happening, seems like Aston Martin has a culture within this shop, at least, that has a problem with black people. But wait a minute. That's not only the real case, right? Because Aiden has some other things that were going on. We would come to find out that Aiden revealed or talked to somebody about his boyfriend. And it would seem that following that admission, which he shouldn't have had to be concerned about if he had a conversation about his significant other, just like I shouldn't if I go and talk about my significant other, that this started following that. So not only is it racial attacks, they're homophobic. So they're attacking him based on his sexual preference. But why isn't Aston Martin putting that on the title of their post in their statements? Why are you not doing that, Aston? Why are you not doing that, Aston Martin? Oh, I know why you're not doing it. I'm going to make myself real big when I say this. Aston Martin didn't put that as a title on their response because they feel and they know that in today's society, they could get cancel culture, right? And I'm going to also say this. I do not believe that the support against the cancel culture, the support that goes behind people that choose their sexual preferences should be any bigger than people that are going against being racially attacked. They should have equal acknowledgement and equal support. But it's funny that Aston Martin doesn't do that because they fear being canceled by that versus being attacked or being brought up to the podium about you're a racist organization. And they didn't put that on there because they don't want to try to go up against that. That's why they're not putting that up there. Why didn't they also say their zero tolerance policy on homophobic thoughts or racial slurs? They need to put an address on that shit. I'm calling for Aston Martin to put an address on that shit. Own up to all of it. And then my other problem is this. Seb, where you at? Sebastian, was all this shit taking place and you was there, bro? Because I think it was reported that this started in February 2022. So there was plenty of opportunity for Seb to talk about this as well. I would have thought Sebastian Vettel, or Vettel, however you want to say it, I would have thought that he would have stepped out in front of this and said, hey, these fuckers got to go. Maybe Seb didn't know because, maybe it's in the shop. Seb don't be in all the shops. Seb might not have known. It's possible that he might not have known. Seb might not be down in laminates trying to figure out what those guys doing. So it seems that in this case, unlike the cases that we have with Red Bull, where we have racial shit happening in the organization of Red Bull itself, the drink company, Red Bull, the Formula One team, and Red Bull, the driver's crew. Like we've seen an extension of racial shit problems happening throughout. In this situation, I'm going to try to keep it fair with integrity. It seems like it might have been localized in the laminates department or the shop. Maybe not Aston Martin as a whole as an organization. I'm going to say that because we've always went over audio with Max, kind of being racially or at least attacking people with special needs, offending people with special needs by calling Lance Stroll, what did he call him? Damn, what did he call Lance Stroll? Damn, I got to go back into it. But basically, he was calling the man special needs, and that ain't really what it should have been calling him. I forget the exact term he used. A Mongol. I think that's what he called him, a Mongol. Yep. So yeah, that's what we doing, Matt. Like, we've seen it. But with Aston Martin, they need to put an address on that shit. They owned up to it. They put the post out. Now they need to get to correcting that problem and make sure it doesn't happen. I don't think that right now, in today's time, we should be having these situations occur in any corner of the world, but it is. I've told you all several times here. I am about character over color. I'm about people over politics. I just am. And if you call this bringing politics into Formula One, so fucking be it. Because I'm going to give you a history lesson. Politics have been involved in sports since the gladiators hit the dirt. Those were politicians on the front row directing and fabricating up this sport and loving it. Politics are always going to be involved in sports, so get over that. Black people, people of color, people of different lives, people of different countries, people that talk different, people that walk different are going to be involved in Formula One. That's what not Liberty Mutual, Liberty Media. That lady said Liberty Mutual, but y'all ain't trying to hang her out to dry. I damn sure did, because, I mean, hell, that Liberty Mutual, it's Liberty Media, are trying to reach a younger demographic. So all these things where you think Formula One is supposed to be this exclusive boys club of elite rich white people needs to stop. It is very true right now that if you are not that in Formula One, that you don't have an opportunity to be in Formula One, which we need to look at that as well and address that, because I would probably be right to say that there have been some great drivers and are some great drivers now that could be in Formula One and compete, but they're not getting the opportunity because financially they cannot provide themselves the windows or the doors to get into Formula One. I would go on record and say that. There needs to be a program put in place to give people that are not financially able but have the talent and the ability to compete. And we can't get everybody, right? Everybody's not going to make this trip, but we definitely should have a program in place to reach and find drivers that can offer us as viewers great racing, that can offer Formula One a great product, that can get on track and do great things. Lewis Hamilton is one of those people. Financially not as rich as majority or what would be the majority of Formula One and karting industry to get into Formula One. He was not that. He is Neo of the Matrix in Formula One. He breaks the code and is successful in doing so. It's just a fact. But there are not a lot of cases where that can happen. And there needs to be programs in place to give people that don't come from a rich lifestyle or rich environment to have the opportunity. Can you drive? Can you compete? Let's try to find those anomalies out here and bring them to the grid so we can have great racing and great historical records to talk about. I'm about trying to make the sport great. And if that's what it takes to make the sport great, don't tell me Formula One doesn't have enough money, because Sir Lewis Hamilton spends about $20 million doing so of his own damn money to try to make programs to give black people and people that don't come from that walk of life jobs in Formula One, not driving. I mean, because that's a slim ass margin. Like, it's slim. It's very small. But let's talk about drivers, the pit crew. Let's talk about that. Look at the pit crew. The diversity in the pit crew, not really that great. Let's talk about the offices. Let's talk about the engineers. Let's talk about stewards. Let's talk about marshals. There are plenty areas where this can be improved, and that's what should happen. But enough people don't credit even Lewis Hamilton for doing that. This is not a Lewis Hamilton show, but it's hard to talk about things like this and not mention them because he's doing things like that. Who else is doing things like that? So it's hard for me not to mention them. It ain't a Lewis Hamilton show. I mean, but shit, he doing it. So anyway, this is a live. Hey, y'all know we going to be live next week for Finale Lap. I got our next bottle right here. This how we do it on this show. My viewers, my members deserve this. I went out and bought this bottle for us to pop and celebrate for the next race, given the podium is made. You see how I'm doing. This real. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Big Hurt. I'm sending you out your VIP box. Get with me. DM me. I'm going to get it out to you. Everybody else has known they've gotten theirs. Everybody that is a member of the channel, I really, really, really appreciate you. Sylvia, being here more than a month, has upgraded in her badge. I really appreciate members of the channel. We are working to build this platform. Eventually, there's going to be a platform where we're going to be able to come as members and have conversations on a weekly basis to talk about Formula One and life things in Formula One that are happening. That's what members will get. So there are things being built for that program. All right. I'm working here. Believe it. I get up at 4:30 in the morning and be working on shit. I really be at this. I'm really about this. And everybody who thought I wasn't going to be here, joke's on you. So, hey, that's the live. Now, hopefully, I appreciate you too, Jay Starship. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too, Big Hurt. Congratulations, bro. You got it. Hey, but this is the Purple Collection. This was coming in Tier 2, and we already have somebody that I'm going to award the VIP Tier 2 package to, so be here next week to see that. I love y'all. Peace. Be safe. Subscribe. Share the channel. Share the information. Let's keep growing. Peace.